Welcome back to the Midday Show. From 2005 to 2012, my guest today was the beloved co-host of G4's Attack of the Show. Currently, he has a lot on his plate, from the Pointless podcast to the gaming show The Attack on Twitch.tv to Hack My Life, which airs Tuesday nights at 9:30 Central on True TV. Please welcome to the show, Kevin Pereira!
And the villagers rejoice. Hello there. Pleasure to be here.
It's so happy to have you. And so you have so much on your plate, but of course, we got to go to Attack of the Show, because as we were talking,
you introed me. Are you going to drop in the sound of like a stadium cheering or like a crowd going wild? Are you going to like sample a Shakira concert from Brazil where they're going nuts and chanting something, or is it just like "Welcome Kevin Pereira" and then I go "Hey" and then that's it?
Well, there is enough time in that recording where I can add it in post.
Okay, cool.
So I think I might actually do that.
Yes, let's start with Attack. Let's get to Attack. Let's do it.
Yeah, so Attack of the Show was such a molding show for everybody who watched it for a good chunk of time, because it was on from 2005 to early January 2013, I believe. And it was a show that even if you only you jumped on maybe later or earlier. Oh my God, I'm sorry, that is so gross. But you did a lot of gross stuff on Attack of the Show, of course. I think Human Teabag, the world's. That was kind of gross.
Oh, yeah. No, I have a Guinness Book of World Record. We hold it for the world's largest tea bag, which we got into a kiddie pool and slowly lowered a tea bag onto our foreheads and re-dipped it several times as I cried and lamented that my father never loved me. Got that. We we did lots of stuff. People forget the first week of the show where really nobody was watching, and it was great that no one was because we got away with murder. We stuck a web server inside of somebody's rectum and actually hosted web pages out of it. You could go to yourassgotserved.com, and at the time it was actually loading a web page off of a USB thumb drive that was implanted into one of our coworkers by a doctor live on television. That's the kind of crazy stuff we were doing.
Because it has a medical purpose, we'll be able to air this on the show.
Good. I tried to say that as sanitary as possible. I tried to keep that very safe. It was in an orifice. It was not his mouth. Definitely not his ear. You guys figure out the rest.
Yeah, I think we might have to beep out the rest, but I think just because it's a medical purpose type of thing, we can probably get away with it. So
good.
But
good. It's college, right? This is the time to experiment and learn, and that might mean putting web servers in places that Jesus told you was a sin. That's all.
and what's great is this is a community college, and I'm a Jew, so it all works out so unbelievably well. But my point was, before I burped and got us on that tangent, that wherever you kind of jumped in to Attack of the Show, you just you instantly knew what it was and you understood it, which was great. And similar shows that we've talked about before on the show, like Youth Live and CRL, shows like that, it was definitely like a live. It was a live show, of course, but it was a show like that where you could just jump in, and of course, with that live type of show, it's easier to do than, say, a sitcom or a drama. But still, it was one of those shows where it's just like anywhere you jumped in, you can instantly become a fan of it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I feel like the viewership, the numbers would disagree with that statement, but I like to think that that's the case. I like to think that we made a show that, it moved quickly, and because the interests of everybody involved were pretty diverse, they all sort of rotated around a common theme. Nothing got belabored. You could, as you said, drop in, drop out, and that's what we were hoping. Like, we were doing an hour of live television every single day, and the goal was essentially like, look, if we can have 5 minutes, if you were just flipping through the channels and you landed on us, could we hold your attention for 5 minutes? And if we could accomplish that, we would hope that, maybe you'd come back for more. Or maybe at the end of that 5 minutes, you'd see, well, what's the next 5 got for me? And it was so varied, but again, it's still around a central theme, a love of tech and all things nerdy and geeky and just actual authentic passion for everything. And we just figured, look, if we approach every subject with that authenticity and we stay passionate about it, it'll be interesting to watch. It'll be entertaining to watch, even if you're not the biggest fan of whatever the video game or comic is, whatever it is that we're covering. And I think we got that message across to a handful of people. Apparently, it resonated with you, so that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, and one of the things, actually, I have a bone to pick with AOTS, a little bit of a bone. So you, for the last run of the show, you had a different set, and in those first few weeks of the new set with the new co-host Candace Bailey at the time, you guys were giving away props from the old set, and one of the most famous props that you were giving away were the cell phones hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, we had a whole old collection of cell phones back there.
I was one of the winners on Twitter. I never got on the Twitter wall. They asked me for my address. I never got the cell phone.
Well, if I knew who was responsible for that, I would personally make sure that their head was rolling right now. But I couldn't even tell you who was tasked with signing those things and sending them out. I know that that for a year or two after into the set change, there was just a giant Rubbermaid bin filled with old cell phones in various pieces. Some were shattered into 1,000. Others were just missing keypads and screens. So it's not like anybody sold them for profit. I think it all got lost in the shuffle. So
yeah. But at least I get to talk to you now, which makes up for it all.
Yeah, I'm happy to sign like an old Ericsson or an old Motorola Razr and ship it to you. We can make that happen.
Then let's do it. But I'm so happy that even though I did not get my cell phone, I get to talk to the man in charge, basically, for the most part, or at least on screen, the man in charge. And
I'll take credit for that. Sure, it was entirely me. It was really, my shoulders were so sore after so many years of everybody just riding them. It was one set of footprints each and every show.
Yeah, and there was one particular thing that I feel like was your idea. And please correct me if I was wrong. There was one particular little piece of minutia which was so touching yet funny and homage-y. When Leslie Nielsen died, the great Leslie Nielsen from The Naked Gun and Airplane died, you guys did like a tribute opening, which was the recreation of the Police Squad opening sequence. And I remember that day.
Naked Gun, absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember that day. I remember sitting in my acting class in high school, my sophomore year, and saying, "Can we take a quick silence for the death of Leslie Nielsen?" They didn't, of course. But that night, your little bit was on. I was like, somebody remembered.
Oh, absolutely. I was on Chris Hardwick's podcast ages ago, and they asked me, who would be your ideal interviews? Like, who would you like to get? And it was still in my head, and I freshly named a bunch of people who I couldn't get anymore because sadly they have departed. And Leslie Nielsen was one of those guys. I mean, he informed so much of my childhood, and while it might make him roll in his grave to think that I said he inspired my humor, he truly did. And that I think that was the case for the entire staff. I don't remember if it was exactly me who said, let's do the intro or let's do it this way, but certainly that intro was iconic, and we were happy to give a little tip of the hat because, again, he gave us so much. So I'm glad that resonated with you. That's great.
And now you're doing a show on Twitch.tv, which has just exploded over the past few years, called The Attack, which is kind of like a pseudo AOTS type of AOTS for the new, not millennium, but new decade.
The hope with it isn't, we're not trying to redo Attack of the Show necessarily.
Of course.
My hope is to grow The Attack, which is the name of the company that is putting this on. We're just trying to explore how do we react and how do we create on different platforms. Twitch happens to be one of the first ones. And that's what we're out doing right now. We're doing a show 3 days a week. It's live. It's silly. It leans a little more gaming and tech, since that's what the audience on that platform tends to love and gravitate towards, which is fantastic and convenient for us because we love it as well. So that's what we're doing on that platform right now. And then we're slowly kind of growing that and fostering our own audience with some folks who were Attack of the Show fans who are tuning back in, and other people who have never even heard of Attack of the Show. They're just into what we're doing right now. And as we slowly grow that, we'll hopefully have new projects and do new stuff on other platforms as they become available, and then eventually maybe even have our own platform. But I just like making things. That's it. I want to roll out of bed and make a thing each and every day. And so the Attack on Twitch, that's one thing that we get to do. I'm trying to do some virtual reality stuff as well. Maybe it'll be a game. Maybe it'll be just a standalone experience. I don't know. But that's what I'm up to right now. That's kind of the goal, is to just make things.
And you have a lot of things that we're going to talk about after the break. But first, where can people find you on the tweets?
Oh, it's very simple. I'm at Attack. I kept it nice and easy. I used to be K. Pereira, which is, try to explain to somebody how to spell a Portuguese last name is an exercise in futility. So if they want to find me on the old Twitter sphere, I'm at Attack.
Super easy. And could you do us the honor, throw us to commercial, just say, we'll be right back here on the Midday Show. Simple as that.
Oh, you guys, don't change a thing. Don't even reach for an iDevice or tell Siri to move a muscle. You just sit right there, because we'll be right back on the Midday Show.
Welcome back to the Midday Show. I have Mr. Kevin Pereira from Attack of the Show, The Attack on Twitch, and also his newest venture, Hack My Life, which is in its second season on True TV. Give us a little taste of Hack My Life for people who have not tuned in before.
Yeah, Hack My Life is a really, really fun, family-friendly, which is crazy that I could describe any project I'm involved with those words. But it is like a fun, clean show for everyone, and we explore the world of life hack. Ways to save yourself time or money by using an object in an unintended way. Or a little way to optimize your life with a piece of knowledge that you didn't have before. And that's what the show is all about. It's celebrating those ideas that you've come through on like a BuzzFeed or a YouTube video, and then elevating them in a way that we can do on television when we have a budget.
And I want to, before we talk about your podcast, I want to quickly mention you were the host of Let's Ask America.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, a fun show when I watched it. It was a good time.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I had fun with that one. That one was a weird show. We shot, in TV, sometimes you try to bang out multiple episodes in a day. It's amortization. It's the way you can save some cash with a budget. So on that show, we were shooting, by the end of the run, we were shooting 8 episodes in a single day.
Wow.
Which means I would run out on set, say hello to the audience. I would introduce the guests who were playing from home. It was a game show where people played via Skype right from their house. And I would say hello to 4 people. We'd play a half hour of a game show. I would then rip off a tie, take off my blazer, physically throw it across the studio to a PA who would catch it. Another person would hand me a new one. I would change my tie, grab a bite of a Kind bar, and go right back out on set and go, hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Here's 4 new people. And we would do that for 8 shows in a single day. So it was like a marathon to bank out all these episodes. But I thought they were all fun. I thought they all came together. And for a while, things were great. I got 2 seasons out of it. They did a 3rd season of the show without me, and then unfortunately that was the end of the run. But it was a fun show to be involved with. I've never done a game show, and that was a joy.
And it was a fun show, and even my best friend's sister, I was over at their house one time, and I was like, oh, Let's Ask America's on, and she's like, yeah, I love Kevin Pereira. I was like, you know who that is? And she's like 15, so I'm like, how do you know who Kevin Pereira is? So it was great, because
crazy.
She probably wasn't in that age range to know Attack of the Show. So saying, of course, she probably watched the show. That's how she knew who you were. But it was like,
right.
Yay!
No, that's wild. That's been the trip. Like, I think for whatever semblance of a career I have for the rest of my life, assuming I have one. So please, dear Lord, as I cross my fingers, I think there will be many who know me from Attack of the Show. It was just it was almost a decade plus that I was at G4, so it would make sense that people recognize me from that. But just the other day, I was in the airport. I was in Cabo, flying back, and in Cabo, a guy runs up and he's pointing. He's like, "Oh, Kevin!" And I'm like, "Oh, hey!" And I immediately assume like, "Oh, you must have watched G4 or whatever." And he's like, I love your life hacks." And I thought it was putting me on. I was like, "Wait, really?" He's like, "That's the one?" He's like, "Yeah, I love Hack My Life." And I was like, "Cool. Did you watch G4?" And he's like, "G what?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's right. That's weird that like it's flattering and bizarre and weird that someone would know me from anything else, because that's where my head immediately goes. So the fact that she might know me from hosting this game show is crazy to me, but amazing. I love that. I mean, it's always awesome to hear that someone likes what you do. So that's great to hear.
And I hope you like what we're doing right now. I hope you're having a good time. Are you having a good time?
Are you kidding me? Of course.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Good.
I get to talk about myself. That's my favorite topic.
And I get to talk about myself sometimes, but you know what I mean. So, Pointless Podcast, or just Pointless with Kevin Pereira, is your big podcast. You do it. Is it every week, bi-weekly?
It's every week. It's once a week. If I can squeeze it in while I'm flying around filming other TV shows. But for right now, yes, it's been once a week for about a year plus.
And congratulations on that. So
Thank you.
it's basically a podcast.
Yeah, it's the laziest a human being can be while still producing content. That's what the show is. I mean, it was born out of I had limited amounts of time, and I still wanted to say things, and I wanted to just hang out with friends. And so I said, well, let's get together. We're going to hit record. We're not going to put a single segment on it, no labels on it. We're just going to talk, and we'll see what comes out of it. And that's, to this day, that's still what it is. It's we sit down and have a conversation, and it might be with a celebrity. It might be with, a scientist. It might just be with my next-door neighbor because I think they're interesting. That's what the show is each and every week. There is no point, hence it's pointless.
And I want to talk about, this is just the part where we just go into weird minutia about stuff, because I've ran out of solid things to talk about. Because like we said in the break, I'm professionally unprofessional.
Right.
But you were on at midnight. How many times has it been? 3 times?
I think no, just twice.
Just twice. So I want to know because I've had a few people who's been on the show, but I've never gotten to talk about it with them. What is that experience like? Because I love At Midnight. I've turned my dad onto At Midnight, and of course, Chris Hardwick from the good old G4 days. I know you've only done twice, but I think that's enough to know kind of what the vibe is on that show when you're in the studio and actually playing the game. What is that like to be in that moment, thinking things up on the spot, buzzing in, having an answer, doing all that stuff?
It is so bizarre. There's nothing like it. I mean, there's nothing like it that I've experienced before at all, because on one hand, you're on a panel with people who, at least when I've done it, I've been friends with the folks that I'm there with, but you're competing with them. But the competition is to have a good time and to tell jokes. It's kind of indescribable in that way, in that you're mashing a buzzer on a podium, hoping that you chime in first so that you can say a quip, but also not wanting to chime in because you can't wait to hear what the other people are going to say because they genuinely make you laugh your face off. So from that aspect, from actually being there and playing the quote-unquote game, it's really bizarre. The first time I did it, I didn't care at all about winning. I just wanted to have a good time, and I did. But I returned home to like a deluge of tweets and text messages and emails from people saying that they were disappointed with me for losing, and I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know I was supposed to care about winning. That I feel bad now." Okay, so the next time I went on, I was like, "Okay, well now I'm going to try to buzz in," and fared a lot better. But it's just weird to think about competing against people you love with jokes. With that said, though, as the best stuff on the show is the stuff that comes up on the fly, but you do get a handful of the material beforehand, so you can think up some quips and some responses. And I don't know if they like people talking about how the sausage is made exactly, but I don't think there's any harm in that personally. So it's nice that you can take a second, come up with some stuff or a funny angle, work with the writers. The show itself has some really solid, very funny writers who will give you suggestions. And so just using that, you get to have a good time. You get to go on out there, again, hang out with some friends and tell some jokes.
Yeah, but still, even if you do get some time to think about it, it's the pressure. You could forget it. You could say something different. Even though it's not a completely live show, it's basically live to tape. So you're in that moment. You're on the set. There's people in the audience. There's a little control room off to the side. There's Chris. There's your other panelists. Anything is really up for grabs.
Yeah, no, it's a weird perspective to have standing behind that podium, again, mashing that buzzer. And you're right. There's the audience. The cameras are on. You really have one shot to nail that joke. And, I mean, look, if you completely mess up, maybe they'll roll the tape back. But more often than not, you just know that that's going to get cut and you're moving on. So you really want to deliver, and you want to deliver quickly and accurately because you want it to make the air. And sometimes they put the extended cuts online, and it's really fascinating to me because that show gets turned around so fast. You tape it, and I think they've got an hour and change to actually edit it down and get it going. But I've taped one of my At Midnights that I taped. I feel like the taping went for like an hour and a half because we were I was with Will Wheaton, and we were just screwing around. Me, Chris, and Will were just cracking jokes and like getting out from behind the podiums and getting physical and like kind of putting on a show, which was great. It was so much fun, but none of that made it to air. It was as if an entire show was cut out from the show that we did, and understandably so. They have to fit it in the half hour, but if they post, I think they were posting some of the extended cuts online. People should check them out because it's a wildly different show than what makes it to air.
Definitely. And again, going back to the kind of previewing the material type of thing, even if you preview the material, you still have to be funny. So that's the key to the show. If you're not funny, you kind of fail.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole conceit. Like, if you're not smart, you're going to lose at Jeopardy, right? Like,
exactly.
You don't belong behind that podium. And so I guess the conceit of At Midnight is like, well, I hope you're funny, because if you're not going to be invited back, which is probably why I've only been there twice.
Oh, that's not true. You're great. But I was surprised when I was like, Kevin Pereira is not a comedian. What is he doing there? But I'm happy that he's there.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I guess, I don't know. That's something I've struggled with for a while, is that like I told jokes on television and did interviews that were live. I mean, they're completely live, not like live to tape. When Attack of the Show aired, we had a 6-second delay in case someone dropped an F-bomb. That was it. Everything you saw was what was happening in the studio or at Comic-Con or at E3 at a convention. It was fully live. So if there was something that was entertaining or a joke and it happened within the live context, that was entirely, my doing if it came out of my mouth or my co-host or whatever. So it's so weird to me that, since doing Attack, people will be like, well, we need to book a comedian for this, or we want a comedian for this project. And I would say, like, well, I kind of told jokes live on television for 6 years, over 6 years. Does that not qualify? And I guess you have to stand in front of like a brick background with a microphone, and have somebody cough and a waitress spill a drink over everything you're saying. Then you're qualified as being a comedian. I think that's what's missing. So I got to book that gig.
I think that's a great way to tie everything up. My thanks to Kevin Pereira. We will see you next time here on the Midday Show.